What's up, everybody? I'm now live on YouTube too. Hey, I'm also live on TikTok right now, as I was just telling the TikTok crew. So bear with me here. This is the first time I've done the double live. What's up, Mary Birmingham? What's up, Karma Mama 71? Karma Mamas. Karma is a definite thing here. Yeah, it was a wild day in the YSL trial, and I'm looking forward to breaking it down because the craziness is going to continue on Monday. Meghann the Reporter, what's up, Shady Dre? Thanks for saying hi. It is Meghann the Reporter in the house. TJ, what's up on YouTube? Thanks for saying hi. A lot of people used to call me Megs. I had an editor that called me Megs all the time. I don't get that much anymore, but I'm fine with MTR. Just moved to a new place. I think this is my first TikTok live before I moved in the new place. A-Rod, thanks for saying hey. I did a live. I think I said I was moving to a new place. It takes a while to get everything settled, but it's great up here. I'm stoked. I just got my new getting the background all set up, kind of rearranged things a little bit. Got the coon statue that I've had since high school. Big lawn guy there. But A-Rod, you have a quick question on TikTok. What's the question? Let me know. I'll keep an eye on the chat. Type it in. But there was so much that happened today with all the hype for YSL Woody's testimony, and then the guy actually gets. I think it's fair to say he was arrested. I mean, he was taken into custody. That's arrested. He was arrested for contempt of court, on the witness stand. They didn't show it. I don't really understand why they wouldn't want to show it, but it was like a security thing. And a couple of reporters who were in the courtroom said that the officers actually told them ahead of time that if Woody was going to get arrested or something, or if Woody was going to get arrested, that they weren't allowed to show it on camera. So, of course, that indicates people totally saw this coming, that he was going to try to pull this on the stand. And that's what a lot of the debate was later in the afternoon, as Howard Baker said in the Watergate hearings. What did the president know and when did they know it? The question is, what did DA Love know and when did she know it about this pleading the fifth thing? And of course, I think Glanville does have a fair point by bringing up the immunity thing. I mean, obviously they knew he was going to plead the fifth because that's why they offered him immunity, to try to get him to stop, to not do that. So the question would more be, after they gave him immunity, did they still know that he was going to go up there on the stand and plead the fifth? And the point from Brian Steele, Young Thug's lawyer, who motioned for a mistrial pretty quickly after this happened, almost immediately after this happened this morning, was that it is prejudicial to have that occur in front of the jury, which it just reminds me of the Tory Lanez trial when Judge Hereford was letting Kelsey plead the fifth in front of the jury. And I was like, okay, in my experience, this should not happen in front of the jury. I'd never covered a trial with Judge Hereford before, but I covered a bunch of other trials and just proceedings. And yeah, it's considered, a lot of judges, absolutely not. You won't let that happen in front of the jury. Although I have heard an argument that, and some judges have done this, where it's part of the process. They want the jury to see the person plead the fifth. But my overall experience with it is that most judges consider it prejudicial and don't allow that to occur in front of the jury. So, and I think it also, because this is Georgia, and all the trials I watch are either federal court or California state court, it might have something to do with Georgia state law too regarding that. But the big question was if they knew this was going to happen and basically just let it happen anyway. But it doesn't sound like Glanville is real interested in that. Somebody asked if I think the judge is biased. I mean, no, because he's made, the idea that he's just out to throw the trial for YSL or get, Young Thug convicted, because he's made plenty of rulings that are adverse to the prosecutors too. He kind of does it both ways. The problem is he needs to deal with this whole thing between Brian Steele and Adrian Love. It's Steele's been complaining about this for a long time, the false accusations and the kind of disparaging him in front of the jury. And it was the false accusations today. The jury was out of the out of the room, not in the courtroom, but he was, Love was making the point that they had given him copies of exhibits or something that they're going to be bringing up on their side that were incomplete and were basically, she almost said, she didn't say doctored, she said they were altered or changed, or they didn't include everything or something, but she's basically saying that they were doctoring stuff or altering stuff. And he got really pissed. I posted the clip on that. You guys all saw him blow up on that. And Love equates what he's doing with what he says she's doing, in that she says that these are personal attacks on her, and she's standing up and saying, "Judge, can you strike this from the record? Can you strike this from the record?" And Glanville just like basically just isn't dealing with this, you know? He gives them a lecture, which I thought was good, but it's like something, just telling them to be nice to their brothers and sisters of the bar. It needs to be a little bit more than that. You know, you need, at this point, it's just like happening all the time, disrupting things all the time, that kind of thing. Somebody on TikTok asked, is there anything that we can do to get another judge, like a petition, different judge? No, definitely not. I mean, Glanville is the chief judge of Fulton County, and the idea that things would be better with another judge too. I think maybe things would like start on time or something. Maybe, I don't know. Sorry. I'll be right back. Got to get some more water here. All right. Somebody asked if I can explain why a mistrial would be beneficial. You know, I think it always favors the defense in a way to have the prosecutors start over like that. It could cause the prosecutors to rethink their case, something like that. I don't know. But the idea that the prosecutors here would just not would drop the case or something, I don't think so. They're just going to retry them. So the idea that there would be, I don't think there's going to be a mistrial, like unless the jurors drop out, they get under 12 jurors, then Glanville would just have to cause call a mistrial, excuse me. But the idea that they would just, like, the case wouldn't just start over. It would just, they would all be still in jail and they would do another trial. So it's just a cluster that I think is just going to keep going on forever. And I think a lot of it is really kind of a leadership problem on Glanville's part, because what happened with the witness today, I mean, you know, I don't want to just say that it was predictable, but it seems like if he had some foresight here and was looking at all the issues, and this is a major state's witness. And what struck me was yesterday afternoon when the jury left, they were talking about who the witness was. And he even said, Judge Glanville said, "Oh, Kenneth Copeland isn't testifying tomorrow, is he?" And they said, "Oh yeah, he is." And it's like, okay. And this morning, you know, they heard that he had a lawyer, a new lawyer. And Glanville is talking about, you guys might hear the sirens from outside. It's the beauty of living in LA now. But Glanville was saying that, talking about the criminal history, you know, what is going to be allowed in testimony on that? Basically, what are prosecutors going to be able to take into account here, or to ask him about? And I mean, it just seems like these are all issues that they could have dealt with ahead of time, you know. But somebody says, shout out to Meghann on YouTube. Kevin, thank you so much for saying hi. I got to kind of keep the talking a little bit lower. I'm gonna throw my voice again and not be able to do a good live for you guys. I want to go through and see the questions and everything. That was one thing I want to do when I got to my new place was get this all set up and do more lives, because I love posting the clips. It's how you guys are able to stay up on the trial, and it's good for me too. It's how I basically watch the trial. But I want to build a live community here, and maybe do like a set weekly day where I do where I say hi to everyone. Number one, like us family on YouTube says, I'm so happy to catch you talking about this. Thank you for saying hi, and thank you for tuning in. Let me see. Oh, I missed a question from somebody who was gonna on TikTok. I said I was gonna keep an eye on their question, and then I totally missed it. Yeah, and it was telling, somebody brought up that they questioned him without his attorney present. Yeah, it was interesting. I posted that clip on YouTube, and I think on TikTok too, of his lawyer, YSL Woody's new lawyer, saying that he's going to report Adrienne Love to the bar for trying to contact Woody when she knows that he has an attorney, which, yeah, that is like kind of a no-no. How do I feel about the trial as a whole? It's entertaining, but to me, it's just crazy how long this case is. Like the case is just way too big. Like it seems like the first 3 months of testimony, like all that stuff about the drug busts and all this stuff, they could have just cut all of that stuff out, and they could have just started the trial with all this Donovan Thomas stuff. But I mean, and one problem is when you see the DA's office and how they enter exhibits, it takes them forever. You'll have like all these minutes of downtime of all this back and forth, and then it's like 3 minutes of substance when they're going through exhibits. So it's all this stuff that just prolongs it. But really, the problem is they just have way too many like overt acts that they're trying to show that are just taking forever. And the way they're trying to show them, they're not really proving a conspiracy. They're proving that each of these acts happened, even though like most of these acts aren't even like contested. Like I mean, the Dexter Montgomery shooting, the one that DK Walter Murphy went to prison for, but Nard is the one who actually shot this guy in the head with an assault rifle, and he's in prison for, I think, attempted murder. But that is now part of the RICO case. But they spent so long just like proving that this shooting happened. It's like, we know this shooting happened. Nobody is really saying this shooting didn't happen, and they're not focusing on like, I mean, they try to a little bit, but it's not really like a conspiracy case. Like they're not like trying to prove a conspiracy. They're just like trying to prove all these individual overt acts. And gosh, it's just crazy how long it is. I mean, it's surprising to me that the jurors are still all with it. I just, I kind of assumed that some of them would drop out, but because they were time qualified, but I think it was for only like 6 or 12 months maybe or something of testimony. And just the rate they're going, I guess they're a little more than halfway through the juror list. If you guys watch the Thugger Daily Twitter account, which I just can't even like compete with. That guy's so great on there. He has all the clips and everything because he's been watching it forever, and he knows all about the background of all those guys and everything. But he had gosh, I kind of lost my train of thought there. And that happens when I look at the TikTok screen. It's got all this like casino light up stuff, subscription leaderboard. People are like hearts and stars and everything. But the case is just way too long. And yeah, somebody brings up that Brian Steele said today that he's done like 300 appeals just in the state of Georgia, and he's never seen a case like this that's like put together like this. And it's interesting because it to me it just shows it's a very local like Fulton County story. I know there's been some talk that this is going to have like wide implications in the rap music industry, and I think Young Thug, if he gets convicted and going to prison, that would just have widespread implications. And just like he's a really big star. But I think there's a lot of talk that, if he gets convicted, we're going to start seeing cases like this against rappers elsewhere. I'm like, and maybe in Fulton County, like if they have another RICO case they want to bring against some rappers. But if this was the Department of Justice, then I'd say yes, like the U.S. Department of Justice, federal prosecutors, and they were bringing a case against a rapper. It's like, yes, then you could say that could be used. Perhaps they're going to be emboldened to do that around the country. But different district attorney's offices are just so different that, and this case just seems like very original to Atlanta and Atlanta politics. That I don't think there's, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just trying to think of another jurisdiction and another rapper or something that they would like that could possibly be implicated here. And I just think this is like such a Fulton County politics story. Like that's what I realized when I watched the Fonnie Willis hearings about the Wade, the prosecutor that she hired in the Trump case and everything. I was like, wow, this is such a Fulton County political story, you know. But let me go through here. Somebody asked what I think of Glanville. Overall, I mean, I saw some people are really harsh on him and just go off on him, and I think that's too bad because like there are a lot of like really shitty people in this world, and I don't think Judge Glanville is one of them. Like when come on, like he's not like it's kind of crazy how he goes off. Like somebody described him as a joyful disciplinarian. I think that was the Washington Post profile, and the way I'd say that's very accurate. But you know, he's done a lot, and he does Veterans Court, and the way he works with the jury. But this case is just way too big and kind of out of his hands. And then he shows a real lack of leadership in like dealing with issues ahead of time, like the issue of Kenneth Copeland's testimony and him last night or yesterday afternoon being surprised when prosecutors were like, no, Kenneth Copeland is testifying tomorrow. And I just know like some of the trials in cases where I cover, like the judge would be kind of looking ahead at witnesses like that and anticipating issues. I mean, especially for them to this morning to be like, oh, what are we going to do about Kenneth Copeland's criminal history? I'm like, I think everybody here knew for a long time that Kenneth Copeland has a pretty substantial criminal history. Like, and shouldn't they be looking at that? You know, it just seems like a pretty easy issue for them to deal with. And for all witnesses, like, what are you going to allow for criminal history or not? Somebody on YouTube, Mom and Michael says, love your channel. Thank you. That could be a spam. Sometimes it's a spam. They're just like saying the same thing everywhere. But my channel is filled with TikTok stuff. So Jamie says, hey, do you think the judge is biased? What will happen Monday? Well, apparently Kenneth Copeland has told his lawyer that he's still just going to plead the fifth. So this is going to be like almost like a game of chicken with him and Judge Glanville. And Glanville is not going to budge on him. He's just going to keep him in jail. I mean, Judge Glanville, this is before I was covering the case and watching it, but he's kind of famous for he jailed a juror or a potential juror for recording in the courtroom after he told her not to. I think she like spent the night in jail. And then he had that one lady, she had to write like an essay or something about like 60-page essay or 30-page essay about the importance of jury duty because she skipped out on it or something. So the idea that he was pretty quick to just be like, boom, like you're gone. Let me pull up the clip here. At least I'll be able to do this on YouTube. I don't know if I can't really figure out how to like share screen videos on YouTube or on TikTok yet, but yeah, let me. Happened. I mean, he's pretty quick to just be like, boom.
You say that again?
First and last name with the spelling of both, please.
Thank you for some Lacera. Yeah, okay.
Mr. Copeland, do me a favor. Pull your chair up as close as you can to the microphone and speak directly into it so we can all hear you. So if you could state and spell your first and last name. For
the idea that Monday, if Kenneth Copeland pleads the fifth, which he apparently says he's going to do,
spell it, please.
Glanville's
KENNETHCOPELAND.
How long they can
Thank you, sir.
Let's see.
All right.
And Mr. Copeland, good afternoon.
So it's Simone.
Do you want to be here?
Ma'am,
Do you want to be here?
I'm here.
Okay. Are you going to let me ask you some questions?
Okay.
Nah.
How old are you?
Grown.
Okay. What does grown mean?
I'm an adult.
Okay. And when you say you're an adult, what number in years are you?
I plead the fifth.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I get you to step outside to your headquarters of jury deliberation, please? From
All right. It's pretty.
It's pretty classic, like exchange. Like I've seen some people show that exchange and be like, "This is me when somebody asks me how old I am." Like, yeah. Yeah, I wonder how long Glanville thinks that he'll be able to just keep him in jail. And what are they just going to like take him into court every morning and be like, okay, are you going to testify? And if he pleads the fifth, just take him back to jail. Like, I don't know.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Our jury has left us. Mr. Copeland, given the fact that you have invoked your Fifth Amendment privilege, but the state has already given you immunity under 24-5-507, this court holds you in willful contempt, and we'll see you on Monday. And we'll see if we can get some more testimony at that point in time. Take me.
Yeah, now the camera goes off. I don't really understand that, but Georgia has pretty good public record laws. I think I should be able to get a mugshot.
State, do you have any other witnesses you plan on calling this afternoon?
Not already.
Okay. What I'm going to do is I'll call our jury and tell them that you're going to be in recess for the weekend, and we'll come back on Monday.
Yeah, I mean, he's just like, it doesn't seem to bother Glanville. Well, of course, it's in front of the jury. Well, they already.
Mr. Steele, I'll entertain it right now.
I didn't want to hold the jury.
Yeah, and here Brian Steele moves for mistrial. It's just interesting because, like I said, in the Tory Lanez,
and what's the basis for your mistrial? We didn't know he was going to invoke. We didn't know what he was going to testify to, and I certainly didn't let him.
Like, wait a minute.
He was only asked one question.
Oh yeah,
so
the mugshot is on.
At this point in time, there's really, I mean, you can't.
I gotta see that.
Knowingly let a witness invoke their Fifth Amendment privilege in front of a jury, but that didn't happen in this case. Last thing we heard from Mr. Copeland was he was going to testify.
So everything you say, I'll adopt, because I was about to say those words. Based upon information belief, I'd like to call witnesses from the prosecution. I was told, I do not have the personal information, but I was told that Mr. Copeland made that known to officers of the prosecution team prior to being called right now.
But it's what I was told. I mean, the last thing the court knew, and he has counsel.
If a party knows that a witness is going to invoke the Fifth Amendment in front of a jury,
some people would, but I think
there's no doubt it prejudices Mr.
Williams
et al. All of them, because this trial's been going on now, I believe, 8 months in front of a jury.
Well, pause or continue. It'll continue.
They've heard Mr. Copeland's name however many times.
I predict
that's what
they're just going to move on.
So the jurors have heard Kenneth Copeland,
and as well. Okay.
I opened on him that he's the killer. We cross-examined all these witnesses about Kenneth Copeland. The state talked about Kenneth Copeland. My point is, if this honorable court finds that the state knew or had reason to believe that he was going to do this in front of a jury, that his response was going to be, I'm invoking the Fifth Amendment, then, Your Honor, yes, I adopt what you said. That's wrong of a party, and I'm moving for mistrial.
Okay. All right, sir. Thank you.
In a lot of this, I mean, I think Steele knows by now he's not going to get a mistrial.
Yes, sir.
But he needs to preserve the record.
Yes, Ms. Love.
There is. I'd just like to put some things on the record regarding Mr. Copeland. As we stated earlier, Mr. Copeland.
And somebody on TikTok asked.
Your Honor, I'm just telling the court, I am not.
Yeah, somebody on TikTok asked, so if he pleads the fifth again, what's going to happen? I mean, I can't imagine Glanville's going to be like, okay, never mind. I'm just going to let you out. No more contempt. Like, Glanville's definitely just going to keep holding him in contempt. So it's like this game of chicken that's starting between Kenneth Copeland and Judge Glanville, where it's kind of funny because Love here, hopefully you guys can hear it. I need to set up my camera in a way where the TikTok crew can see the videos I'm playing on YouTube. But she basically complains that he was arrested and says that she doesn't think that he should be held in jail. But so the idea that, I don't know, does Young Thug's team want him in jail? Probably, because in the end, they do not want him to testify. But Love goes on and she doesn't just imply, she kind of just straight up says that Kenneth Copeland's new lawyer did something here, wasn't properly representing Kenneth Copeland, but was instead conspiring with the YSL defense attorneys, which really pisses Kenneth Copeland's lawyer off, and kind of rightfully so. It's like, that is a pretty low blow allegation against a member of the bar who, I've never heard of him before, but I don't cover lawyers in Georgia, but apparently he's been around for a long time. I mean, Glanville says that he's known him forever too. And of course, Glanville does not accept those allegations, and he was like respectful to the attorney, but he does not deal with the issue. And the way he interrupted the attorney too, and the attorney was like, "Excuse me, judge," like trying to continue, and Glanville's a judge, so he just keeps interrupting. But he kind of was just like missing the point where he's like, "Well, you're an advocate, you need to do that." It's like, okay, so are you gonna like say something about the prosecutor, not like just flat out saying that this lawyer is like not representing his client and is instead conspiring with some other lawyers? It's kind of a big allegation, But let's listen to what a little bit.
Your Honor, if I may.
Okay, but counsel gets the proffer, Mr. Steele. I can accept that. So, could you sit down at that time, sir?
Sit down.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, Ms. Love, you can complete your proffer at this point.
Your Honor, yes. Just to relate to the court the observations that members of our office have made throughout the course of this morning and throughout the time that we've been dealing with Mr. Copeland. Our cause for concern is Mr. Copeland's communication that he is going to us, that he is going to speak, that he is going to speak on the stand, that he is going to testify, and watching what happens when Mr. Copeland gets on the stand. Mr. Copeland did not want to have to be taken into custody. The court gave him the opportunity to have present in court with him someone who is supposed to be representing his best interests. What we have seen is communication, both verbal and nonverbal, between Mr. Copeland's supposed counsel and counsel for defendants. And a look as if I tried from Mr. Copeland's supposed counsel in the direction of counsel for the defendants after Mr. Melnick attempted to assert for Mr. Copeland. May I finish?
Let her finish, Mr. Melnick. Please sit down and I'll let you start. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. So that was Copeland's lawyer right there. Cause I mean, she just accused him of some pretty serious stuff. I mean, God. Somebody asked, Russell asked on YouTube if it's in Thug's best interest that Copeland keeps pleading the fifth. Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps him. Like, he does not really want him to testify in any way, like say anything incriminating, and all this stuff is just like bad for the prosecution's case. So yeah, I think it's definitely beneficial to Thug that he's just like not even saying anything, and it's becoming kind of a spectacle. I would disagree with somebody on TikTok who says public defenders don't defend the public. I know a lot of public defenders, and I've seen a lot of public defenders, and they're very good attorneys, especially federal defenders, like really some of the best work. And a lot of that, like they'll work circles and do way better advocacy than some private defense attorneys. So I would not knock public defenders too much. They get a bad rap. Some of them, it depends on what jurisdiction you're in. But really, you want to find an attorney with a public defender background because they have the most trial experience. Actually, I saw Drew, what's his last name? He defends all the rappers like YFN Lucci, and he's defending NBA Youngboy and stuff. But he's in Atlanta, and he was saying this, that he's a former public defender, and that's where you want to get. Really, a public defender is not that bad. Private defense attorneys can be really slimy. We're kind of getting into the Better Call Saul era of private defense attorneys. Like when I was at the Daily Journal, the newspaper for lawyers, we'd talk to people like judges, like what inspired you to go into the law. And it's so cliche. And everyone would be like, I know this sounds cliche, but I used to watch a lot of Perry Mason. And I swear, and like pretty soon, instead of Perry Mason, if it hasn't already, the next generation is going to be like, well, you know that show Breaking Bad and Saul Goodman and Better Call Saul? It's like, God. Anyway.
While Mr. Copeland is on the stand stating that he wants to testify, that he will testify rather. So we are watching, and Mr. Melnick, I believe it may even be captured on film. The court can look at it. Mr. Melnick turns to the direction of counsel for the defendants and motions like, that's it. Then, upon information and belief, as we are standing out waiting for the jury to come in, Mr. Copeland requests to speak with counsel for the state, but Mr. Melnick keeps walking in.
But
Then,
tell me something.
as
Does he at any
Mr.
point in time tell you?
Copeland,
Does he at any point in time tell you I'm not going to testify?
Thank you, Bob.
I'm vote the Fifth Amendment.
Stuff. I
no,
thought my ticket-
as what happens, as Mr. Copeland requested to speak with the state, Mr. Melnick keeps going in regardless of Mr. Copeland's request to speak with the state. And then we learn that Mr. Melnick tells Mr. Copeland they are going to hammer you. So Ms. Hilton comes back in and asks me, had I spoken with Mr. Melnick?
Thank you. I'm stoked.
Had I told him that we are going to
On that,
hammer
especially-
Mr. Copeland, the state had not made any such communication with anybody. So what we are seeing, we believe, is tampering with witnesses, this particular witness on the part of people who are not the state. So we are concerned. I don't know that Mr. Copeland's interest is being represented when that interest may not be in alignment with the people that Mr. Melnick is communicating with on breaks. And after Mr. Copeland has communicated to this court, he will testify.
Check out the mug, guys.
So watching the goings on as Mr. Copeland is not on the stand, it has been publicized, it has been hyped up that Mr. Copeland is the next witness. Mr. Copeland is the witness. And then Mr. Copeland, he's been nothing but cordial. He's been nothing but communicative with Ms. Hilton during the time that she has been interviewing him and speaking with him. And the reason Ms. Hilton was not in here just now when the jury came out is that Mr. Copeland asked to speak with Ms. Hilton. But Mr. Melnick kept going back in there and going back.
Yeah, so Love is complaining that, everything was going great with Copeland. And I guess it's Simone Hilton who was going to be questioning, or she was, yeah, because we saw a little bit of it this morning. And, he was going to answer questions. She doesn't say that, but she's definitely implying that, he was just going to cooperate and everything was going to be fine. I've heard people in Atlanta say that he's been on, talking so-and-so and saying that he's going to do stuff like this for a while. So, is he just pulling a fast one on the prosecutors? But Love is explaining, this is earlier this morning, she's explaining to Judge Glanville. And this is her basically accusing this lawyer, Melnick, who you've seen step in, who's Kenneth Copeland's lawyer, of some pretty underhanded stuff.
I'm going back in there. And the reason that we have a problem with this is that Mr. Copeland is not facing any charges. For Mr. Melnick to suggest or say to him that we're going to hammer him, it causes us to call into question whose interests he's representing. And so we would ask that, what I haven't even thought of in my mind an appropriate remedy at this point, because it is wrong for parties to inject themselves on behalf of purportedly one person. And I don't know, I guess they're, I don't know what's going on, but I can say that this entire day, starting from the point at which Mr. Melnick is invoking Mr. Copeland's Fifth Amendment right after Mr. Copeland has said he's going to testify, has gone a little off rails, and it's a little bit concerning. So, Your Honor, as to this motion for a mistrial, we would argue that it's caused by actions on the part of people other than the state, that Mr. Copeland got here and said what he did. So we will continue to speak with Mr. Copeland because Mr. Copeland doesn't have any charges that are open. If he asks to speak with us, which he has, we'll go and speak with him. And I'm not even certain what is going on behind me with respect to persons who are purporting to represent the best interest of Mr. Copeland. Well, but it would appear to me that Mr. Copeland's best interest would be served by Mr. Copeland not being inside the Fulton County jail. But that's just my opinion. So, Your Honor, I would ask that the court deny the motion for a mistrial at the very least. And if it goes any further, find that actions by people other than the state have led to us being where we are, because Mr. Copeland was at the point right before lunch of agreeing to testify. That is the reason we were ready to get started right before lunch, because now he's been told he's going to be hammered by his attorney, I guess. He told him that, I guess, the state's going to hammer him. I don't even know what. But Ms. Hilton has gone over the questions that she has for Mr. Copeland. She has spoken with him about it. They have been speaking cordially with one another. And this idea that somehow someone is entitled to mistrial as a result
Thank you
of
so much for the
this
rose.
action on the part of Mr. Copeland is a farce
Oh,
under these
okay.
circumstances. We'd ask that the court deny the motion.
All right.
Thank you.
I'm going to deny the motion for mistrial. Mr. Steele, at this
course.
point in time, I'll note that you've made it. And I'll let Mr. Melnick in just a second make whatever remarks he wants. Do you have anything else you want to say?
Last Friday, because my understanding prior to that is that Mr. Melnick had told Ms. Love that he wasn't his attorney. So when we went to go serve him,
Communications with the Fulton County District Attorney's Office
Kenneth
in
Copeland.
relation to Kenneth Copeland. And I found communications as late as June 5th of last year, where the Fulton County District Attorney's Office had reached out to me about speaking to Mr. Copeland. Speaking to Mr. Copeland concerning this trial, not about any other case. Speaking with Mr. Copeland about
We got to
this
put
trial.
the clips on here in a minute.
Neither of these attorneys, no attorney at this table has ever attempted to contact me about Mr. Copeland and about his willingness or desire to testify at this trial. They have put us in this position where at the last minute, I'm trying to advise him as best I can what I think is best for him. Had they exercised the slightest bit of professional conduct, we would not be sitting here having this conversation today.
So,
And unfortunately, for me to fully explain everything that's been going on, it would require me to reveal confidences that I'm not going to reveal.
I don't
assure
want you to do that, sir.
I can assure you that the decision to invoke the fifth came completely from Kenneth Copeland. I owe nothing to anybody over here. I owe nothing to anybody at any of these tables. I don't care, candidly, no offense, don't care what happens with their cases. The only thing I care about is what happens to Kenneth Copeland. And for any assertion, I'm sorry, Judge, for any assertion.
And that's your primary duty.
It is. That's exactly right. And for an assertion to be made that I or Mr. Copeland are somehow being influenced by somebody over here is absolutely ridiculous. I take great offense to it, and I can tell Ms. Love that I am going to the state bar to report her for contacting a witness that she knows to be represented by counsel. She and I have had conversations about Kenneth Copeland.
Okay, and sir, that is whatever you decide to do outside of what the court is ruling upon. Remember, the court can only rule upon what I see. Okay, and what I see at this point in time is a witness who, for whatever reason, may have some other reasons about his testimony. He has expressed those this morning. He said, "I'm going to invoke my Fifth Amendment privilege." The state came to me and said, "Okay, listen, we would like you to sign an immunity order under 24-5-507." They make that decision. So
for watching.
There are. I mean, I think that gets us to the point where
he says the judge
we knew that, or at some point in time, that the state knew that he was going to invoke his Fifth Amendment privilege. So
absolutely knew it.
So, but in order for them to still get this testimony, which they believe that they need, they offered him immunity. So that's what we explained to your client this morning. So whether or not he wishes to go ahead and still invoke his privilege, that's his choice. But the statute's pretty clear.
I understand.
And I know you, and I know you have known you, sir, for at least two decades or more, sir. And I know that you have told him, hey, look, if you invoke, this is probably what's going to happen. And I suspect that if you probably have a conversation with him now, you're probably going to tell him, well, that was a self-fulfilling prophecy in terms of what I told you might happen. But I don't know what conversations you have with him, but I suspect that they were consistent with what the dictates of 24-5-507. Now, Monday, we'll go ahead and I'll call him out before the jury comes in on Monday morning, and we'll ask him whether or not he wishes to continue his testimony, because I don't want him to invoke in front of this jury if I can help it. So since he's made it once already, I'm going to ask him before the jury gets out here on Monday, is it your intent to invoke your Fifth Amendment privilege? If it is, he's going to go back into custody until he's willing to go ahead and give testimony because he has immunity.
That
So
could
he
be a
has to
long
testify.
time, dude.
Judge, the only thing that I would say is that the primary reason Mr. Copeland is in custody right now is because the state has utterly failed to follow up with me in any regard with regard to what Mr. Copeland wants to do or intends to do.
I suspect that that's probably not true.
It is grossly unfair.
I've known you for almost 2 decades. I've known Miss Hilton and Miss Love in particular for a long period of time, and I don't think that they would do that to you.
Judge, at no point did they ever reach out to me about Mr. Copeland.
Your Honor.
About Mr. Copeland's testimony here today. The last time I heard from anybody in the Fulton DA's office was.
So somebody asks if this is normal, and I wouldn't say it's like rare for witnesses to be jailed for contempt of court. I mean, being jailed for contempt of court happens. I've never actually seen it happen like on the witness stand like that, but I wouldn't say it's rare, but it's not like common either. And this is just such a cluster. I mean, because the trial's definitely not over. Like there hasn't been a mistrial. They're gonna try to put Woody back on the stand on Monday, and as Glanville said, and he didn't even really seem to be like worried about it. He's like, we'll just keep him in jail until he decides to testify. So the idea that he's going to budge on that anytime soon, I mean, but my question would be for the judge, like, so are they just going to try to put him on the stand every morning and give him a chance? Is it going to be twice a day or just once a day? Because I mean, after Monday, it's like, okay, so do you call him back on Tuesday? Or they're just going to keep going through the witnesses and keep calling him in. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they handle it. And that's where we get to the point of that could become unprecedented. Like, I mean, maybe not unprecedented. Like I said, jailing a witness for contempt is not common all the time, but it's not rare either. So there's got to be case law on like what's the extent of that? I covered a case. It was a civil case. This guy was jailed for refusing to testify in a civil case, and he was in jail for a while, but you can only use contempt in a civil case to coerce something that you want to happen. And when you don't think that it will coerce that person anymore, you can't keep them in jail. But Glanville is definitely like within his lane, like legally to do this. I mean, I think you'd have to read the case law, like I said, to see like what is the limit of this. But just a weekend in jail for refusing to testify after it's like, yeah, I think he's definitely within his line. Somebody asked him if I'm in ATL. No, I'm actually in Los Angeles. I need to get out to Atlanta, and that's the plan. I mean, my plan is that if this ever actually gets to the jury, which if it does, it's seriously not going to be for like a year, if that. And that's maybe a conservative estimate. I want to go to Atlanta and be there for the verdict and everything. But as long as it's being streamed online and everything, and it's such a cluster, it's better just to watch things here, because this also isn't the only thing I'm covering. I live right near the LA federal courthouse, and there's a really big lawsuit going on against the NFL and Sunday Ticket. If anybody's ever tried to watch the NFL, you might know about how expensive Sunday Ticket is through DirecTV, but they're being sued through this antitrust case, and it's a huge case. It's a big law brouhaha, but they actually played video deposition from Robert Kraft today. And next week, Jerry Jones and Roger Goodell are both going to be testifying in person at the courthouse. So of course I'm going to that, especially for Jerry Jones. I want to see Jerry Jones testify, and I want to get pictures of him going out of the courthouse and stuff. So, but thankfully I moved to downtown LA, so I can just get up there real quick. But there's just a bunch of stuff going on, but with it being streamed online, it's easy to keep track of, and I can just hop on my own stream and do a bunch of things. But somebody asked what happens if Woody doesn't testify. I think prosecutors are kind of screwed, but they're definitely still just going to go on. And I don't think it tanks the case. It definitely doesn't help their case to not have him. And he's pretty big for a bunch of stuff, but it's just hard to tell because it's such a big case. They have so much other stuff that they can go over. It's hard to know like what exactly, the jury would think about all this and how crucial in the end the jury is going to think Kenneth Copeland's testimony should have been or something. So it's hard to know. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I've got a live video violation. I've got to describe my product. Yeah, if you guys see my product displayed, I'm gonna take it off here. But it's my googly-eyed bitch mug. That's what Tory Lanez called me during his last court appearance for shooting Megan Thee Stallion. It was before he went off to serve his 10-year prison sentence. He was like leaving the courtroom and he's like, Meghann Cuniff is a googly-eyed bitch. And I'm like, okay, I got to do something with that. So I had a friend, Bryson Paul. Actually, you guys might see him on YouTube or on Twitter. He made a logo for me, and I've got like mugs and T-shirts and sweatshirts and stuff. If you guys go to my store, unfortunately, they're not linked on YouTube yet. There's so much freaking stuff to do with like Google Merchant stuff that I've got to get like the photos right and write everything in there. But once I do that, I'll be able to get it displayed on YouTube. So I don't have it on there. But thanks guys for checking out the products if you can. But let me answer some questions on YouTube here. Somebody says I'm the GOAT. Thank you. I got to keep up and embracing it. I've been a little like, what do I cover? Because I mean, this NFL case is huge, but of course everybody's freaking covering it. And you know, I want to be the hip hop reporter, but do I? I mean, I cover stuff in LA, and hip hop related cases. I know I have a big audience for that, so I'm kind of doing Young Thug, but I don't want to just not cover this NFL case. There's an insider trading case. There's, LA public corruption cases to cover. So let me see. I got some more questions here. Let me see the YouTube. I don't want to neglect you guys. Jasmine Hall says, yes, you're on live and I can catch the replay. Yes, you definitely can. Yeah, I got to do a set live. That was my whole plan when I was moving to my new place. And actually I've got somebody coming over to professionally set up this new desk that I got on Monday. So I'm going to get everything set up in here, but I want to do more of these, do some stuff for you guys. Do you think Thug will be convicted considering the YSL guys aren't testifying in the way the state wants? Yeah, exactly. I think it's going to be tough to get the RICO conviction. And actually Bryson, Paul, and I did a Spaces, which I need to do. And if I can schedule a live, hopefully a little bit in advance, hopefully we can get him on YouTube and TikTok. But Doug Weinstein, who's sitting, you guys can't see the screen on TikTok, but on YouTube you can see him, the guy sitting by Yak Gotti, the white bald dude. But he joined me and Bryson on X Spaces, and he said, they're going for an acquittal. And I think they're all Young Thug is charged with stuff other than RICO. Like he has some like pretty petty stuff, like drug possession stuff, that if he doesn't get convicted of RICO, he could still get convicted of that. But considering he's been in custody for as long as he has, I think that he would get out. Like the thing that's really going to keep him in, send him to state prison, is if he gets convicted of the RICO charge. So right now, I think it could be tough for them to get a conspiracy conviction. They're not there yet. So, yeah. So let me see if I can keep going here. Here, I'll play the clip of Woody's lawyer continuing here.
June of last year.
Ms. Hilton, did you reach out to Mr. Melnick?
Anybody over here?
Oh.
I owe nothing to.
I was going to invoke. They were consistent with what the dictates of 24-5-507. Now, Monday, we'll go ahead and I'll call him out before the jury comes in on Monday morning. We'll ask him whether or not he wishes to continue his testimony, because I don't want him to invoke in front of this jury. If he
jail calls that we were provided, Mr. Steele has not yet provided us the ISO file. We again
this is when Steele blows up. Somebody asks if I can predict how long the trial will go, And you know, I can't, because I keep on predicting that, like, how can the jury keep lasting like this? I keep on predicting they're just going to crap out. Like by the end of the year, these jurors, a couple of them or 5 of them are going to have stuff happen in their lives and they're going to stop showing up. But of course, Glanville would probably jail them all if they did. But so far that hasn't happened. And I think as long as the jurors stick around, I think they seriously are going to just keep doing this trial, which is just kind of crazy to me. But we could go all summer here, and you know, I mean, who knows? Yeah, they get like, I think they do get paid. It's like $30 a day or $20 a day in Fulton County or something. It's online. Yeah, $25 a day. Somebody says. Yeah, it's more than 10. It's like 25 in Fulton County, which is it's more than 10 an hour. It's like, yeah, but well, no, actually 10 an hour would be a raise for them. It's only $25 a day. So I've always, how can people do that? Don't they like have jobs or something they have to do? But that's always been my prediction, is that they're not going to be able to continue. But as long as they do, I could see this going into next year, which is kind of crazy to think about. But I don't think Fulton County is going to back down on this case at all. So, and just the way they're going, that with the witnesses they have left, I think definitely could have the prosecution case go into the fall and maybe early next year. And then the defense case actually could be pretty hefty. So let's play Brian Steele. God, he just blew up. And that's a symptom of this trial just stretching on. They all just freaking hate each other at this point. Although it's Steele and Love, and that's just been festering and not dealt with. Although the other attorneys complain about Love too, and there just hasn't been anything. I mean, people have called it, you know, Glanville just doesn't do anything about it. But here,
additional on a thumb drive last night, we had the deputy of our jail call unit look at that, and we are again missing. We do not have the complete file
To be able to play though.
to be able to access it properly, to be able to look at it, authenticate the calls, the time of day, all of that. We don't have it. We were provided last night a thumb drive.
so this is her allegation
with cut and pasted file names up under headings, with some additional pieces of a file that would have had to, again, have been deconstructed from the way that the file would have been given to counsel for defendant Williams. We are asking the court to compel defense counsel to turn over to the state the file in the original condition that it was given to them, so that we may properly access and evaluate the content and the time and date and all of that, and the authenticity of those calls on that file. It has been deconstructed, and particular parts of the file have been extracted and purposefully kept out of what is given to the state. So we are asking again that the court compel either, you know what, and if they don't want to, then we're asking that they just be excluded.
Okay. All right, Mr. Steele, do you have the raw file?
There he goes. He just freaking.
Judge Glanville,
Sir.
you allow another moment when Miss Love calls me that I cannot do something. They have the exact image of what we got from the jail in Fayette County. That is it. And if I get another false allegation and you do nothing, I'm shocked. I'm appalled at you. I sit here day after day with this false allegation, just machine. I gave the state everything. There's been no construction. There's been no purposeful. I don't care. I don't care. I give over everything. I've done this for 33 years. Never in my life have I seen a trial. I've done 300 appeals in the state of Georgia alone. Yeah. I've never read a case like this. Judge, I gave them everything I had. I waited. I was at my office till 8 after 8 last night. I waited for their investigator to come by. I handed him an exact copy of thumb drive. They have everything that we got from the Fayette County Jail. There's been no deconstruction. There's been no purposeful exclusion. This is not the first time. Okay. And I apologize that I'm getting tempered, but I've never been treated like this. You talk about professionalism every week. Professionalism is lacking with one lawyer here. It has never been. I don't even like coming to court. I used to love this. I would die for what we do. I used to say, I'm dying. I would die. I couldn't choose a better profession.
Right.
If I had litigated with Miss Love, I would.
Your Honor, could we strike the
No,
hominem
I'm
attacks? Really, could we strike that?
Okay, hey, everybody, calm down, everybody.
And so she's, I mean, I'm very aware. It's like some of the criticism of DA Love. I mean, let's all be aware of the fact that, you know, she's a woman and she's also Black. So, I mean, how much discrimination has she faced in her life? So I think she approaches this from that standpoint. And some of it, it's like, look, it might be kind of true, like partly, but it's just tough. I mean, it makes me uncomfortable to talk about because the criticism that's being leveled at her, I mean, like I said, she's accusing these guys of some really like bad stuff here, but it's just her reaction to it. It's kind of fascinating to me, the back and forth, but it's Glanville who just like lets this happen because the way he addresses this, he kind of just puts both of them as on the same level, and he never actually deals with it. And yeah, somebody on YouTube says, I'm a woman in Black and a lawyer, and still she conducts herself in a way not conducive to the profession. Yeah, no, it's true. And I mean, Steele has pointed out, like in his discussions where he said something about DA Hilton the other day, who's also Black, and he's like, you know, Simone Hilton, who is always professional, you know, because it's not just. Yeah, it's not a race and gender thing. It's definitely like a reaction to the behavior. But I just feel like there's such a dynamic here that like, and people say, yeah, it's unprofessional the way it like happens. Like, yeah. Somebody says Miss Hilton knows how to shut up, but it's not just like the talking in court. It's like, just like what she's saying, like the allegations against them, and then the out of court conduct too, and some of the interactions that they've had with them. It's but I just feel like she's so defensive on everything, and she goes around and turns this of them personally attacking her, and I'm like, is that really true? And personally, it's not really up to me to like intervene. It's like Judge Glanville just doesn't do, when he tries to referee this, he doesn't. He basically just equates their behavior together. It says they're doing the same thing, and I don't know, are they?
Right. Both of you, please be seated.
Judge, I'm not.
Both of you, please be seated.
You have to do something. You have threatened me with contempt.
Yeah.
You threatened me with jail.
He's
if
not.
you go back in time, we can just start in voir dire. Jury after jury, you did individual voir dire, painful. Miss Love would come in and say that juror was crying. It was not true. You would say, that's not my recollection after I said it. You did nothing. We start the case.
Mr. Steele.
I asked you, please.
Mr. Steele.
How would you feel if you were being treated
Mr.
like
Steele.
No, somebody asked him if I'm proud of Armand Wiggins. He's on Fox TV.
I gave them everything on that drive.
I think that's awesome.
Continual abuse.
He's like one of the hosts of what is it?
Of another member of the bar. I don't talk with Miss Love. And that's fine. I like that. But Judge, I'm not going to stand here anymore.
It's fine. I like that.
I don't care. You can take my bar card.
Mr. Steele, listen.
And Mr. Williams, you know, to me, this is an innocent man. You talk about, Mr. Love said there's a man in the Fulton County jail. He shouldn't be there, Mr. Copeland. Mr. Williams shouldn't be in custody. But he's been charged, and we come here for a fair trial. It's been everything but that, according to Miss Love has tried to demonize me. At times, Mr. Adams. At times, Mr. Shaw. Now it's all because she wants to win the case. And now she speaks over people. It's not right. I gave them everything. And by the way, and what I want to tell you, by the way, it's not even the law. If they call that gentleman on direct, I don't have to give them anything before trial. I do it because you asked me to. You said, listen, we got a big case. It's going to take a long time. Give them things. I gave this, by this way, to the state October of 2023. October 2023. Welcome. That was uploaded. Given to the state. I hear about it now, and I wait there, and I give them the exact duplicate of what we have. And now there's a false allegation of misconduct. Right, and what I'm telling the court is what I said again. I do not appreciate it. And you never, You have told it in front of the jury that I'm unprofessional. You were wrong. You based that on Miss Love's false representation.
Your Honor, again, the ad hominem attacks, Your Honor. I object, and he should stop talking when I
Miss Love can
object.
try to silence me.
Your
I will not be silenced.
But Mr. Seal, here's the thing. Okay, I think that Mr. Seal, please be quiet at this point in time. You made your point. You made your point at this point in time. Both of you, please be seated. Please be seated, sir. Sir, please be seated.
Whatever you do is fine, but I care about Jeffrey Wood. It's the best here.
Sir, it's obvious. I would expect no less because you're his advocate, you're his champion. But could you all please sit down so I can kind of figure out a solution for this? All right.
Okay, and here's Glanville's like.
First, let me just kind of address the obvious. I know that at times tempers have been heated in this particular trial, and they continue to do so. And I know that all of you are being zealous advocates and representing your clients to the best of your ability with zeal and rigor. However, I agree that there should not be ad hominem attacks on anybody or any counsel, and that you all should think and reflect about what you say about your brothers and sisters of the bar.
Brothers and sisters of the bar.
Because we have a large contingent of folks that watch this trial, and so not only for the purposes of this, but it sends not the message I think you want it to send. All right, so I'm going to leave you all to your wise discretion in order to do that, but I'll take up whatever I need to take up as I see fit. But I know that you all, this has been a long trial. It's very demanding, exacting, and grating on, and tiring on all of you. So I ask you to just take a couple deep breaths and step back and see, and kind of look at, and just remember that you do represent of who you represent and what you're here for. In terms of the tape or the phone calls from Fayette County, it's the court's suggestion that, and if you want my assistance,
What calls are
I
these?
can always, with a proper subpoena, have the raw, whatever it is that whatever you're seeking to get, I could get that, and you can compare that against what you have. Because maybe that's what, and Mr. Steele, I don't doubt, and I know that you would never delete or otherwise try and alter evidence, and I assume that that's what you got, and I'm gonna take that at face value. I'm in no way saying that. Ms. Love is in her argument is saying that she is, when it's stripped down, less all the sound and fury.
But the sound and fury is like,
she's saying
all
that
here, but all
that particular type of file has other things with it. I don't think you were given those, and that's what she's trying to get. So I'm in no way blaming anybody in this particular circumstance, but if you want that particular file, and I think you all should have that particular, the raw file, then let me do a notice to produce or a rule nisi, and maybe we can get the entirety of the file. And I think that if you did that, I think that the whole thing would probably be produced to you, because nobody probably wants to come down here and see me. So I will work with you all to get that, and you all we can take that up. And it's a problem I think can be resolved. But I'm in no way, but I would just remind everybody to be careful about what they say to each other. Some things you just can't take back. And remember, y'all going to see each other over and over and over again. And, it serves you and serves the profession, serves your
this
clients.
seems like such a softball response to that.
It's not effective.
Furious.
So
from Steele.
just please consider what I
Let's
just
be
told
nice to each
you. All
other.
right. So
It's like, well,
I'm just going to recess, and we'll see where Mr. Melnick is.
So, and like I said, like he talks about the fury of Miss Love, but he doesn't acknowledge it's like, okay, so is that appropriate? Is that the behavior that you're talking about? And do you differentiate? Like, it seems like he should specifically say that, like, is he equating Steele bringing this up and being so angry? Like, does he think those are ad hominem attacks? Like Love says? I mean, I see a difference in that, but just from Glanville's whole like speech there. We didn't really hear like one way or the other what it was. So here, what else can we play here? That was pretty much it. I mean, they talked about his criminal history this morning. What else did they do? Oh, here's this morning when they.
Mr. Copeland, can you take a look at that order for me, please, sir? All right, let's just go through it right quick, okay? I just want to make sure that you understand where you are, and you have your attorney here. And if you have questions of the court or your counsel, you can go ahead and do that, okay? All right? You have to answer yes or no, sir.
All right.
Okay, all right. I'm not trying to trick you. I'm not trying to do anything other than explain this to you, all right?
Okay.
Okay, all right. Mr. Copeland, this order reads basically, the state of Georgia has moved the court pursuant to this particular statute, which is 24-5-507, to compel your testimony, and our district attorney, Ms. Willis, having determined that your testimony is materially as necessary to the public interest. And that is, and if you take a look at the footnote, sir, I'm sure your attorney's probably explained this to you, that she has the purview of determining whether or not your testimony is needed for a particular trial. I don't even have that authority. Your attorney doesn't have that authority. You can't decide that.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, we hear about motions to quash. Like I remember YFN Lucci's lawyer said that if he's subpoenaed, they'll file a motion to quash the subpoena. So Glanville does have the power to like grant those subpoenas, but the standard for that stuff is just when there's just like no use for the testimony whatsoever. It's like a blatantly like useless subpoena, like there's no reason for it. The subpoena is like harassing basically. And you know, for as involved in all this stuff as YSL Woody is, that he wouldn't meet the standard for that at all. So that's what Glanville is saying here, that it's basically just up to the prosecutors whether he testifies or not.
That maybe it's not really necessary. She makes that decision. So, and it's in the public interest. So you've been subpoenaed in this case to appear before and give testimony in this particular matter. And the state has provided the court sufficient reasons as to why you are necessary as a witness in this case. It appears that you've been properly subpoenaed to appear as a witness in this case, and that your testimony is necessary in the public interest. So that's how we, as a due process, gets you to come to court. I mean, you were noticed as a witness. They've identified you as a witness. They've determined that your testimony is needed. Because of the fact that you have some concerns about what your testimony may indicate or could indicate in this case, and that's something that you and your counsel have talked about, and I'm not certainly going to inquire about that. But in order to potentially deal with anything that may come out of that, the state is basically, knowing that you have a Fifth Amendment privilege, says, okay, we acknowledge that. We're going to give you immunity. And as a result of that, then you have to testify as a result of that. If you don't testify, then I, as the judge in this case, have several remedies. One of those is that I could hold you in contempt and jail you because the way that you get out of that contempt is to just testify. That's the only thing they wanted in this case, for you to testify. So your attorneys told me you're going to invoke your Fifth Amendment privilege. Done, said. However, the immunity has been signed. I have a copy of that right now. So you're required to testify. So if you don't testify, the state's probably going to ask me to jail you. And I'm probably going to do that. So I'd like you to go ahead out and talk with your lawyer and tell me what you want to do at that point in time, okay?
Do you need any more time to talk, Mr. Copeland? Okay. What is your desire at this time?
I'm taking the field.
Okay, you've taken the fifth, but you've got immunity, but you still want to, are you going to testify? That's the thing.
That's the question.
That's the question on the floor. I've acknowledged the fact you have a Fifth Amendment privilege, but the state's given you immunity, so that overrides that Fifth Amendment privilege. They require you to testify.
Yeah, but the state don't know what they're talking about. So they ask me a question, they implicate me, then.
Okay, they can't prosecute you on that. They can't. the order prohibits them from allowing them to use that testimony against you. That's what your lawyer, and I'm not going to get into any of the machinations or intricacies of what may or may not have happened in this case, but Mr. Melnick is a very seasoned criminal defense attorney. I've seen him over the past 2 decades. I'm sure that he's probably given you very, very good advice, but the state can't use that testimony. They can't kind of say, have it both ways, like you testify and then use that against you to indict you and prosecute you. Then we wouldn't have any faith that we need to have people come in and give testimony. So that's why they can't do that. They kind of can't go back on what they're going to tell you, So I signed the order. Now they've asked for immunity. I've signed the order. So basically, whatever you have to tell us, you'll tell us.
Say no more.
Do you wish to testify, Mr. Copeland? Is that no? You have to say no on the record.
Say it again.
Do you wish to testify?
He said I can tell him whatever I got to tell him.
That's
So I testify.
You will testify.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Okay. What we're going to do in just a second is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call for our jurors. I will formally administer the oath to you.
So this,
and then the state will ask you some
like,
questions.
yeah, I'll
Okay?
testify, but then he's
And then you'll be cross-examined at some point in time by potentially
Ask
some.
my attorney before, because I think I just said the wrong thing.
I just said the wrong thing.
I tell you what, why don't you step
Well,
outside
and so this
and
is what
talk to Mr.
what
Melnick.
Love is kind of equating to the attorney, but it's like I think Kenneth Copeland was kind of just confused about it. Like, what's the fifth? What's testifying? What I don't know. I mean, it seemed kind of clear to me, but I don't know. I mean, so then he comes back. We see that shot. Like, I wish the cameras would zoom in on those guys. They don't. It's always these wide angle shots. In the morning, they usually do the zoom in kind of start the morning, but then, especially in the afternoon, we just have the wide angle. Oh,
Don't go anywhere, okay?
does he come back? There we go.
I said, what's your pleasure, sir? Do you wish to give testimony? I know you don't want to give testimony in this case, but you've been given immunity in this particular circumstance, use immunity. So are you going to testify?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right, sir. Then what we'll do at this point in time is we'll call for our jurors and we'll swear you in, and we'll go ahead and take your testimony, okay?
All right.
All right.
So he comes back and says, "Yeah, I'm going to testify." And then, in typical fashion for this trial, they take a lunch break. I mean, it was like freaking 2 hours before he actually came back to testify because they took a break. And then Glanville does this all the time. Like after a break, he's like, "Oh, you know what? We'll just break for." It's like, okay, maybe you could have thought of that all this time sooner, but that's what happened. So it was like 2 hours before he came back, and then that's when we had this.
All right, Mr. Copeland, go ahead and approach the witness stand. Before you sit down, if you would turn and face Deputy Hannon to be sworn as a witness.
And these are the clips that are. I don't think I have his oath. I have the clip starts pretty quickly after that.
Maybe see you state your first and last name with the spelling of both, please.
You say that again?
State your first and last name with the spelling of both, please.
Kenneth Copeland.
Mr. Copeland, do me a favor, pull your chair up as close as you can to the microphone and speak directly into it so we can all hear you. So if you could state and spell your first and last name for the record, please.
Kenneth Copeland.
Thanks for
Spell
sharing.
it, please.
You guys are the best.
KENNETHCOPELAND.
Thank you, sir. All right.
And Mr.
Lori,
Copeland,
laugh.
Do
Thanks for watching.
you want to be?
Thanks for breaking
Ma'am.
this
Do
down.
you want to be here?
I'm here.
Okay.
I needed
We
to.
are gonna let me ask you some questions.
Okay.
So this is Simone.
How old are you?
Grown.
Okay. What does grown mean?
So Simone is actually president, or yeah, I think president is the title this year of the National Association of Black Prosecutors. She's very experienced. Like, I mean, both she and Love, and then Christian Adkins is the more experienced guy. They're obviously, you know, good prosecutors who've won a lot of cases, but this case is just like such a cluster. Like, as Brian Steele says, he's done 300 appeals in the state of Georgia alone, and he's never seen a case like this. So it's just, And they weren't the original prosecutors on this case. So to kind of blame them for how big the case is, I mean, I guess it's their fault because they're the prosecutors now. But it's just like, it's such a beast of a political thing in Fulton County, you know. But let's continue here.
ELAND.
Thank you, sir. All right.
And Mr. Copeland, good afternoon. Do you want to be here?
Ma'am,
Do you want to be here?
I'm here.
Okay. Are you going to let me ask you some questions?
Okay.
How old are you?
Grown.
Okay, what does grown mean?
I'm an adult.
Okay. And when you say you're an adult, what number in years are you?
I plead the fifth.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I get you to step outside to your headquarters of jury deliberation, please?
All right, for sure.
Yep. Yeah, I'll fast forward a little bit.
Copeland, given the fact that you have invoked your Fifth Amendment privilege, but the state has already given you immunity under 24-5-507, this court holds you in willful contempt, and we'll see you on Monday. And we'll see if we can get some more testimony at that point in time. Take them into custody.
Yeah, like I said, the Washington Post article on the Young Thug trial that was pretty recent was a good like 35,000
All right.
view.
State, do you have any other witnesses you plan on
And it
calling?
described Glanville as a joyful disciplinarian. I was like, I think that's a very accurate description of Judge Glanville. I mean, he's just like, well, have fun in jail, man. So, I mean, yeah, the idea that he is going to change his mind on that anytime soon. I mean, he's like, he said in some other clips I played, like, you know, he'll just stay in jail until he decides he wants to testify. So it's going to be quite a test of this because, I mean, yeah, like, is Copeland just going to be put on the stand? My understanding is definitely Monday morning, he is going to be back on the witness stand and they're going to be asking him to testify. And he's told his lawyer he's going to invoke the Fifth. So we'll see that. But then it's like a process question of what is Glanville going to do? Like, is he going to put him on the stand like twice a day to ask him? Is it just going to be once a day? Is it only going to be once a week? Like, you know, is it just going to be, can he just contact the court all of a sudden and say, I want to testify? I mean, how long is Copeland willing to be in custody like this? I was actually looking him up last night because we have heard so much about him, and there's that big long like 2.5 hour interview that's out of him just like talking about all this stuff. But there, I got his court documents from Northern District of Georgia because he got arrested on a gun charge. He like had a gun at a rec center. So Nia B on TikTok says, Meghann, you are the most professional part of this case. Thank you. I try. But yeah, he was on probation for what? Felon in possession of a firearm. And he, let me pull up the documents here. Because there's like some sentencing memos from 2018. He was sentenced for this in 2018. And of course, the defense memo is like he's changing his life around, you know, blah, 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 blah. He's giving up gangs. Here, this is the government memo for him. It was April 2015. He was in the Dunbar Recreation Gym. This is Woody, Kenneth Copeland. And he had a diamond black assault rifle that he just like placed it. He had in a bag and he just like placed it on the bleachers and was like playing basketball and stuff. And somebody called the cops anonymously and said that a guy brought a machine gun inside a white shopping bag into the gym. So cops come and see him and matches the description of the guy and of the guy wearing True Religion jeans. That's what the caller said. So they arrest him because he's a felon. Of course, he's not supposed to have firearms. It's illegal for him to have firearms. So this is and I'm sure, I'm not really sure what the standard is for federal, but this is when, you know, he was associated with YSL and the, you know, all the gang stuff around there. That's not mentioned in here in his sentencing memo, but it says his convictions are he's got aggravated assault in possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, which was probably the assault, obviously the assault, in March 2011, and then 2 counts of entering a vehicle in 2013, 3 counts of terrorist threats, and 3 counts of aggravated assault in 2013. Is that, and I feel like we heard about that in relation to the overt acts. We've heard so much about Copeland. I need to do a little more research and write stuff out about what exactly he said. But so this plea agreement, so he's going to get, this was back in 2018. He was going to get 60 months in custody when he was actually facing 110 to 137. So he got a pretty good deal. And of course, they always, it's the prosecutor, so they have to get a little righteous indignation here about what he did. Copeland then left the loaded firearm unattended near approximately 20 to 30 people. So, it's pretty egregious. But yeah, 60-month history. And you know what? I forgot to look last night. What did he actually get on this? Because then the defense memo, the defense gets a chance to say, where's his defense memo? And they always just ask for like probation or something. But I forgot last night to look up to see what the judge actually gave him. But he got out. Like he was out by like 2020 or something. And then he got rearrested, or he got arrested again, not in this case, but it was like another state charge case. But he was arrested on a federal probation revocation, which I'll get into. But this is his defense memo. There's a pretty interesting paragraph in here about it says, as this court is aware, there were approximately 14 attempts on the lives of Mr. Copeland and or his family members leading up to his arrest in this case. It is these attempts and his discussions with law enforcement surrounding these attempts that led him to the decision to possess the firearm at issue. He understands that this was a poor decision on his part, and he has accepted responsibility for his actions. While incarcerated, he has renounced his gang membership and is working on a plan to move forward in his life in a legitimate way. With the help of Emily Powers, he has developed, I'm not sure who that is, he has developed an action plan to get his GED and job training while in federal custody. But obviously that didn't last too long. Like I said, I don't see what exactly he got in federal custody, but he was out on probation by like 2020, 2021, because he got it revoked here. Okay, so he must have gotten 60 months because his defense is actually asking for 60 months too. So the judge would be kind of crazy to be like, oh no, I mean, there's no reason for the judge to go below 60 months. And the defense did that because they know that he's already getting a huge deal when he was actually facing like 110 to 137. So we're talking about Kenneth Copeland's criminal history, just like what got him here, because Thugger Daily described him as like a stone cold killer, a rat, and a liar, which is an insane combination. And but I mean, I'm assuming if he'd been convicted of murder, he'd still be in custody. But I'm just thinking, we've heard so much about him in the trial, but I don't have like a definitive list of like, okay, what exactly have we heard here? YSL Woody, he was the one, wasn't he? He was originally arrested or originally identified as the shooter of Donovan Thomas, because we've heard that stuff from the barber, or not the barber, but the I think it was Reginald Hendricks, or no, the car washer. What was that guy's name? The car washer, I think, said that he was the one who originally identified YSL Woody, but that he was willing to lie at that time, because now they're saying that YSL Woody, like Kenneth Copeland, is not one of the ones charged in the indictment with Thomas's murder. Shannon Stillwell and Yak Gotti, Diamante Kendrick in the indictment are, and so are some other guys, but they're not on trial. But Woody's not. So I think the defense still says that it was Woody who shot Donovan. I think that's what Thugger Daily has said. So that's like the main thing that he's involved in. But there's been other stuff too. But this is from 2018. This is his defense memo. It says we always get the stuff. Like I said, the prosecution memo had a little dose of righteous indignation about what he did. The defense gets into sob story stuff. But good advocacy for him. He admits that it was wrong to possess the firearm. He has admitted his gang involvement. It says, for the first time in his life, he has a plan to move forward, and he has people supporting him in his new choices. He believes several of those people will be present to support him at sentencing. He has noted that he wants to give back to his community, and he wants to be active with the children in the community as a coach or assistant coach, so he can be a positive influence and so he can show them a better way to participate in the community. He is asking for a sentence of 60 months so he can get started in his new life sooner rather than later. So he probably got credit for, well, I'm not sure, but I'm not sure exactly what happened. But this was 2018, and by 2011, he had his he was in custody on a petition to revoke his supervised release. This is filed in the same case that he was sentenced on there, and I think this is like a clerk's handwriting. It says, defendant has a history of violent crimes, including conviction for assault with a deadly weapon and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. He also has a prior instance of probation revocation. The allegations in the petition involve the alleged use of a firearm in a confrontation with another person, as well as fleeing from the police. And this is May 2021. And so this is what puts him in custody back then. And this is still the petition, which is actually sealed, but this gives us some details about what the petition's about. But then all of a sudden, oh, excuse me, I'm not sharing the right one. I wanted to share this with you guys on YouTube, but there it is. Oh yeah, Sammy Davis. Somebody says the, right, but yeah, this is his revocation release. But then the order actually revoking it was interesting because it gave him credit for time, or released him there to state custody. And it's a little unclear what charges he were. I'm sure I could find that out if I did the research, but this is the actual order, which, by the way, if anyone is like a legal affairs nerd, Nina Totenberg is like this longtime legal affairs rock star journalist for NPR. She's been around forever, and it's her sister is a federal judge in Atlanta, and Nina Totenberg's sister is the one who revoked Copeland's probation, which probably means she was the one who sentenced him too. But like I said, I forgot to look up what he was actually sentenced to and see who did it. But she was definitely the judge who revoked his probation. But yeah, so he was on probation for a period of 3 years. Okay, so he must not have gotten 60 months. He got, like, everyone recommended 60 months, but then he only got probation for 3 years. And yeah, it's because he was doing all that snitching. But at a revocation hearing held in June 2021, he appeared in person with his attorney. So he's been in federal custody since his arrest on May 13, 2020 in Fulton County on charges that are the basis for the underlying violations here. Accordingly, defendant is sentenced to time served as to the admitted violations, and defendant is to be immediately remanded to the custody of Fulton County, Georgia, for adjudication of his pending state charges. No further period of supervised release is imposed in this case. So those state charges he resolved, and not part of the RICO case, but then he was supposedly going to testify with this, but he's not having it. And you see there, Amy Totenberg is the one who signed this. So this was June 2021. He was sent into state custody to deal with his charges. Not sure how long it took him to get resolved or how long he's been out. But I mean, if you just look at the guy, I think he's been to jail and prison before, and he knows what he's doing. So yeah, somebody says he did 32 months instead of the 60. But so the idea that he is just going to give up on this anytime soon, especially when there's so much attention on this. I mean, that is one thing to say about this trial, is it probably would go a little bit different if there were no cameras in the courtroom. I'm certainly not advocating for that, but you know, it's a high profile case, and he's a high profile rapper. So of course that happens. But I mean, the idea that either of these guys are going to give up on this anytime soon. Like, how long is Kenneth Copeland just willing to just sit in jail like this because he won't testify? Because Glanville definitely has the upper hand on him on that. He's not the one in jail. He made it clear he has no problem sending that guy to jail if he won't testify. So Somebody says, Meghann, how do you think the jury views the situation? While it's prejudicial for the state and the defense, I'm curious about what the others think. Yeah, this is one of those things where it's like, what does the jury actually think about him pleading the fifth like that? Because they missed all the stuff that happened afterward with him being taken into custody, and I don't think they don't know, haven't heard anything about the immunity thing. So, I mean, is this enough for them to? I don't know. It's hard to know. And if you think you know what a couple of the jurors think, you might not know what they all think. So, yeah. And that's the question for me is, how long can he be locked up for contempt of court? I'd say that definitely, he's definitely good for the weekend, So, but what is it in Georgia state court? Georgia must have some experience with this within their contempt laws. Like, what is the standard for this? I mean, I've covered somebody being jailed in a civil case for contempt, and the standard is like that the jailing has to be, it's not punishment. It has to be to conduce their testimony. And if you think that's no longer like conducive to testimony, then you have to let him out. But Glanville is definitely within his rights right now to do this. And I think he will be for a while. And yeah, actually, they wanted him in custody until the end of the trial. And there was so much that happened this morning that I didn't really hear all, because like I was over at the LA Federal Courthouse watching these other trials here too. But there's probably some other stuff I can clipped out. But I know Max Shard was asking that he not be transported or like held anywhere near the YSL guys, which I think is a pretty obvious thing that they need to do. Yeah. Contempt of, I'm not sure what it would be in Georgia state court, like what the standard for contempt of court is. Because right now, I mean, yeah, they're trying to compel his testimony. So I'm sure his lawyer's like looking into that right now about like, what can they do here? So yeah, this is back in 2021, but what else should we play here? I think we saw the highlights. Like I said, they had that criminal history discussion. There's a lot of stuff I need to kind of go through. But yeah, check out my YouTube channel where all the, you guys are already there on YouTube, but if you guys are on TikTok, TikTok has just been going through some changes. So I'm posting a lot more clips now, but I haven't been posting as many clips as I have been, but I've still got everything on YouTube. So you guys can head over there and see like full, I'm going to join my team. Yeah. Thank you guys for the hearts and everything. Smile just got the #1 gifter badge. And yeah, somebody's going to my YouTube. Thank you so much. Who was that older attorney with Mr. Steele? So that's Dobbs. Is that his name? David Botts. And I guess he technically represents Shannon Stillwell. He's with Max Shard. Yeah, I love that. How he's just like, and actually I was uploading that clip, how he's just like, yeah, that's fine. Because his point is, like I said, the question on this pleading the fifth stuff, what did DA Love know and when did she know it? And they're saying that she knew ahead of time that the prosecutors knew ahead of time that he was going to invoke the fifth in front of the jury, and they, just let it happen anyway. So David Bratz was bringing up the fact that he had heard this like out in the courthouse hallway, and Glanville, who like has a temper issue, just like blows up on the guy and is like, well, why didn't you bring it to my attention as an officer of the court? He says, and Botts is like, well, I brought it to Steele's attention. And he's like, well, now I've got a problem with you, Glanville. And it's just like, oh, okay, it's kind of unprofessional the way he says it. But Botts is just like, well, that's fine. It's like this little Southern lawyer, but really, I mean, it's like, okay, so you have a problem with me, big freaking deal. But Glanville's like, I suggest you stop talking right now, God. But yeah, I got to get that one up on YouTube. But you guys, I should call it a day. I've been almost doing 2 hours here, or hour and a half. But I want to do more of these. Like I said, I need to do a regular live with you guys, because I think I figured out how to do the TikTok, YouTube simultaneously. And I am just looking forward to kind of digging into the trial a little bit.
I'm calling this afternoon.
So let me
Okay.
go over my channel. I don't know if there's like some stuff you guys aren't supposed to see. But Donovan Thomas. I'm trying to figure out how to do the playlist, kind of organize everything. But obviously the way to just see what was last posted was just going to here. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. And show me some love when you can, and tell your friends to subscribe, all that stuff. I will see you guys later. Like I said, I'm going to do this again next week, and maybe I'll do an update on Jerry Jones, when he testifies, but I'll be posting some stuff there. So hey, thank you guys so much, and I will see you all. Let me get out of TikTok first. I've actually got bye TikTok. Love you guys. It's like a casino in there. It's like a slot machine, the way they put the screen up. It's all addicting and stuff. But so Friday evening. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys have any questions or anything, ask them in the chat. I will kind of stick around for a minute or so and see what's going on. But yeah, I gotta go do stuff. It's gonna get dark here soon too. So probably Friday evening, maybe not the best day to do a live, but it would be good to do like a week recap. I mean, I could do like a Sunday night live, but it seems like the reason I did it today was I figured I should go live on TikTok because all the videos I did were going viral, and they always tell you to go live when your videos are trending. So I was like, well, I'll do it on YouTube too, because frankly, you get more out of going live on YouTube. And I got a pretty good, decent crowd in here, but trying to get them more. But I'll try to do something where I'll go live like during the trial, like during the lunch breaks or something. I'll give an update and everything. But anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in. See ya.